This is the first chapter of Palette, a roguelike top-down bullet hell deck building, card collecting, multiplier stacking, combo building paintbrush game. For a bit of context, my name is Steven, I like to make games, and I disappeared off the face of the planet 2 years ago. Long story short, I was kinda busy. But 2 years later, I found myself with a bit of free time, so I wanted to finally come back and make a game. But this time, instead of randomly throwing ideas at a code editor and hoping it resembles a game like I've done so many times before, I've taken the time to actually plan out what the entire game is going to be first, complete with a design doc of all the details, from mechanics to gameplay loops, all carefully kept at a manageable scope. But why all the fuss? Well, let's just say I'm not really joking when I say I've never actually planned a game out before. Looking back at my old videos, you'd think I was getting my ideas from divine revelations or maybe some sort of psychosis. To put it more seriously, the games I've worked on in the past on this channel have been pretty spontaneous. I would open up Unity, play around with adding whatever funny thing came to mind, and the game would get more complicated. With no real plan in mind, this led to interesting videos, but not a lot of completed games. This time I want to actually finish making the game for once, with the ultimate goal of releasing it on Steam. And with a clearly defined scope and full plan laid out, this should probably be doable. So in the following months, I'll be periodically making more of these devlogs to update y'all as Palette gets closer to launch, because I heart my fans. So far I've cooked up the basic concept that you're a little spirit guy with a comically large paintbrush. The game at its core is a top-down shooter thing, sort of like Nuclear Throne or Enter the Gungeon. You enter a room, beat up a bunch of bad guys, get some new gear, and move on to the next. But the twist is that, unlike other games of this genre, all you have is this paintbrush and there are no other weapons. But luckily, that's all you need, because this bad boy can do pretty much anything, thanks to the power of playing cards? Yep, I've been playing a lot of Balatro. If you aren't familiar, Balatro is this game where you try to score points by making poker hands. And a core mechanic to boost your score is jokers. These little cards up here proc each time you play a hand, and they all do different things. My favorite part is that you can combine specific cards in unique ways to make your score stupidly high. And I thought it would be really cool to combine this idea with another really cool idea: violence. And so Palette revolves around a similar concept of collecting cards to build your attacks. Each card represents either a raw attack move or a modifier of some sort, and they activate in order from left to right when you click. And in the future, you'll be able to make all sorts of cool combination attacks by building decks of cards. As you get more cards, you'll also be able to get exponentially stronger due to their stacking properties for a massive dopamine. But for now, there are just 3 cards: a melee attack, a ranged attack, and this replay card. I also have a bit of a secret weapon this time. As you can tell, I suck at making art. Just take a look at this programmer art prototype that unfortunately exists. Luckily for me, my wonderful girlfriend does not suck at making art and has completely voluntarily offered to help out with this game. She's worked on pretty much everything that actually looks good that you've seen throughout this video. But anyways, back to the cards. If you're holding a melee attack card, you'll do a melee attack when you click. If you're holding a ranged attack card, it does a ranged attack. And this last replay card simply repeats the card before it. And you can hold a bunch of cards to rapidly perform all their actions in order. In the future, I'll be adding a lot more cards focusing on both variety as well as synergies. For example, a card that makes your next attack bounce off walls and a card that doubles the amount of projectiles could be really crazy together. And of course, you'll also be able to stack identical cards, so you could have like 4 of those doubling cards and shoot 16 projectiles with each attack. I will have to carefully manage the balancing on this though, because mathematically, once you stack a couple of these... But that also sounds really funny, so maybe I'll just let it happen. I'm also considering adding 2 hands, one for left click and one for right click. Essentially letting you build 2 different movesets, which you can choose between, which sounds pretty fun. But more on that in the next devlog. For now, I've also gone ahead and started implementing a basic enemy. He doesn't do much right now, but he serves his purpose of getting beaten up quite well, and I like him a lot. In Palette, enemies have this cool attribute where when they get hit, they're frozen in place for half a second, kinda like Devil May Cry or something, before being knocked back. This means that it's really easy to combo enemies if you're stacking multiple attack cards in one hand, which should be super satisfying. I do have some rough plans for the types of enemies I'll be adding in the future, including different melee and ranged enemies, as well as bosses, but we'll go over that in the future. Next up is the level design. The plan for the game is for it to be a roguelike. Levels will be randomly generated, and players will start each run from scratch. I plan on handcrafting the individual rooms, but using some code to randomly select and connect the rooms when you load in the level, to hopefully strike a balance between high quality levels and me having a will to live. As you progress through levels, you'll then have to fight stronger and stronger enemies while finding new cards and building your deck. Although you will unlock some permanent upgrades and new cards in between runs as well, kind of like Slay the Spire or something, so there's a sense of progression. And I think that structure should be pretty much perfect for Palette, as you'll be forced to experiment with making all sorts of builds, and it won't get too monotonous. Finally, let's go over the tech stack for this game. If you know me, you know that I've mostly used Unity in the past. However, this time I decided to learn Godot. So far it's been pretty nice. It's more than powerful enough for what I need, and it's open source. It shouldn't be too much of a learning curve anyway, since I'm still using C# as a scripting language, which is the same language that Unity uses. And that should be everything for now. I'm not gonna lie, I'm pretty excited to start making games again, and it's quite nice to be back. If you're new and are interested in following along, feel free to subscribe. I'll probably only be uploading once a month or less, since I want to put most of my attention on building the game itself, but it should be fun. And if you're a returning subscriber, thanks for sticking around. Seriously, it's been a pretty wild journey over the years, and I really appreciate all of you. Anyways, that's all from me. See you guys next time.